everyone, my name is Aleksandra Tryniecka, and I would like to talk a little bit about myself and most importantly about my book. So in my daily life, I'm an assistant professor at Maria Curie Skłodowska University in Poland, and I specialize in 19th century Victorian novel. I teach 17th and 18th century literature courses as well as Anglophone literatures of the world, and also I specialize in academic writing and in practical English. What is more, I'm a deputy head of literature unit in Athens, Greece, in Athens Institute for Education and Research. And also I'm a literary mom to my literary child, Banky, whom you know from my other book, Banky and the Worms, the Christmas Story. And here he is with me to say hello. He's a very important figure in my life since I've become a writer. Since I become a writer, he's been with me all this time. And he says hi. But today, I would like to share with you a little bit more about my newest book. So let's go! My latest book is titled Women's Literary Portraits in the Victorian and Neo-Victorian Novel, an Intertextual Study. Well, it was life, and it was the 10 years of my research as an academic, as a PhD student, and then as a doctor. I am very interested in female characters, and interest stems genuinely from the fact that I am a woman myself, and I believe that what's more, women are placed in a very interesting spot in historical, cultural, and social context, because women are always in between the domestic and the public sphere, gracefully balancing between these two. Sometimes they are made to balance between these two, and I thought that if I can dive into this deeper understanding of literary female figure, I would hopefully possess a substantial knowledge about society and culture itself. I believe that the language of the 19th century novel is especially elegant, and actually what is more, the Victorian age really fascinated me because I started thinking about the Victorian past as a mirror image of our present. I believe that the Victorian age goes deeper than the nostalgia for the past, and also I believe that the Victorian age is much more than the current criticism that oftentimes appears. I wanted to treat this 19th century literary past as a time travel, and I hoped to see myself as a genuine guest in this past and approach it as a guest would approach a new place and learn from it as much as I can about social cultural context of this past, as well as about the current present day society as well. And what is my reflection? My reflection is that currently we are really very Victorian in many ways, because there are the same ambiguities and the same paradoxes as in the past. And what's more, I am really fascinated by women as literary characters because they are so interesting and, so versatile. For in my novel, I discuss women literary characters both in terms of literary fashion, their social-cultural placement, their history, their struggles, their victories. I hoped to create a book dedicated to every reader, to every literature lover and 19th century enthusiast. The book that would be celebration of femininity, celebration of women, and I hoped that I can somehow build a very modest but still hopefully convincing picture of this 19th century womanhood that was a perfect example of a very skillful balance between the 19th century domestic sphere and the public, and somehow how much women could still achieve as these background figures while preserving their integrity, their identity, and striving to be heard, striving to be seen in the past, which actually is still the case. Therefore, we are not that far remote from the Victorian age. my book, we would also go beyond the Victorian past and enter the Neo-Victorian chapter, which is dedicated to those books which are written in the 20th and 21st century, and they are somehow placed in the Victorian setting, or they somehow restage the Victorian past in a new modern vein, doing the same with the characters presented. Therefore, I also would like to invite you to dive into several Neo-Victorian novels with me and rediscover women as literary characters in the Neo-Victorian fiction. My research process took over 10 years, and it began when I started university as a student and developed my interest in the Victorian novel and women literary characters. Afterwards, I began working on my PhD thesis, and afterwards, as a doctor, I decided to somehow follow the same path and learn more, keep learning about women. And I would like to share here that I believe that it's never-ending process, because we are still we are in a constant dialogue between the 19th century fiction and the Neo-Victorian novels emerging in the 21st century as well, and there's a really huge dialogical potential in this study, in the study of women as literary characters. Yet when I wrote this book, I decided to write the book because I discovered that there are many works dedicated to the Victorian and Neo-Victorian age, yet I could not find a book that would discuss the Victorian and Neo-Victorian novel through the prism of women as literary character in both. Well, writing is my life. Writing means so much to me that I don't think I would be able to exist without writing. First of all, writing enables us to structure our thoughts and somehow order our lives and inner selves. And I believe that it's extremely valuable whether we are writing fiction or conducting a non-fiction study and then creating a work. I believe that writing is this healing process that helps us to make sense of the world around us, as well as make sense of our inner life. And I also believe that writing possesses a magical power, the power to create and introduce new ideas, perspectives, and values into our world. Therefore, I believe that writing is a very responsible process, and I especially value a 19th century novel for its elegance, for its depth that we all need nowadays. I believe that this is something we can take from the 19th century, the depth of thought, of perspectives, and I believe that through writing we can learn quite a lot about ourselves as well as about the world we live in. Dear fellow writer, please write your book from your heart. You don't always have to search for advice. I believe that if you do it from your heart, that's exactly how it should be. You don't have to make sure that your work is valid because of somebody's opinion. You should do it from your heart and be sure that you will find readership, and that is both individuals who will understand you and who will be on the same page with you. I also believe that you should be persistent, you shouldn't give up, because, for instance, writing fiction differs from writing non-fiction, and they're both really fulfilling and challenging in their own ways. When it comes to non-fiction, I believe that you should never give up on research, and it's very important that it will be done really thoroughly and carefully without worrying about time limits, and it should be all just done really peacefully, carefully, as if there was no time in the world, because it will take a lot of time and space, as we understand. I invite you to search for my book Women's Literary Portraits in the Victorian and Neo-Victorian Novel online. My book is present in some bookstores in the United States and in England, but definitely you will find it on Amazon, on Barnes and Noble, uh, everywhere online, in bookstores online. And I would be honored if you would like to take a look at my work. Perhaps you will find it enjoyable, and you will find reading it as enjoyable as I found writing it. So I would like to invite you to participate in this literary journey with me and just walk the whole path with me. And I hope that you will find this process valuable. Thank you so much for dedicating your time to listening to me. Thank you the world to me. I'm so grateful. I feel very happy as a writer, as a person, as a woman, that I could create this work.